Someone bumps into you in a crowded store. You say, sorry. A friend shows up 20 minutes late, and you're the one who says sorry for texting to check where they were. You share an opinion in a meeting, and before the sentence is even finished, you've already said, sorry, but, like the thought itself needed permission to exist. You don't even notice you're doing it anymore. It's not politeness. It's not manners. It's a reflex, faster than thought. Wired somewhere so deep, you'd have to be told about it to even see it. And here's the part that should stop you cold. You're not apologizing for what you did. You're apologizing for the space you're taking up just by being there. This video is about the people who say sorry for everything, and the very specific reason their mouths learned to do that before their minds ever agreed to it. Nobody is born apologizing for their existence. It's trained in, usually early, usually quietly, usually by someone who never meant to teach it. Maybe it was a household where a raised voice meant danger, and the fastest way to diffuse it was to get there first. "I'm sorry," said before the anger even landed, like a small sacrifice offered up to keep the peace. Maybe it was a caregiver whose mood you learned to read like weather, where being too loud, too needy, too much was the thing that made the room go cold. Psychologists have a name for this pattern. It's called the fawn response. Alongside fight, flight, and freeze, fawning is what a nervous system does when it decides the safest way to survive a threat is to appease it, not fight it, not run from it. Make yourself small enough, agreeable enough, sorry enough that the threat has no reason to notice you. The child who learns this doesn't grow out of it. They just grow up and take the reflex with them into every room they ever walk into. Here's what chronic apologizing actually costs, and it's not what people think. It's not just the word sorry, it's everything underneath it. It's the opinion you soften into a question. It's the need you never mention, because asking for something feels like an imposition you'd have to apologize for anyway. It's the way you take up exactly as much space as you think you're allowed to, and not 1 inch more. Every sorry is a tiny transaction, a small admission of guilt for a crime that was never committed. And when you make that transaction 50 times a day, you're not just being polite, you're rehearsing, over and over, the belief that your presence is something that needs to be excused. The cruelest part is how invisible it is. Nobody around you sees the shrinking. They just see someone easygoing, someone low maintenance, someone who never causes problems. What they don't see is the person quietly editing themselves down to fit into a space they were never sure they were allowed to occupy in the first place. Chronic apologizers are exhausted in a way that's almost impossible to explain to someone who doesn't do it. Because the apology isn't the end of the process. It's the last visible step of one that runs constantly in the background. Before the sorry ever leaves your mouth, your brain has already scanned the room, measured the mood, calculated whether you're inconveniencing someone, and decided that preemptive guilt is the cheapest insurance against conflict. That scanning never fully switches off. It's running in every conversation, every group chat, every silence that lasts a second too long. And there's a second cost, one that's almost cruel in its irony. The more you apologize, the more people start to believe there's actually something to apologize for. Over-apologizing doesn't read as kindness after a while. It reads as guilt. So the people around you begin, without meaning to, treating you like someone who's always slightly in the wrong. And you, watching that happen, take it as confirmation that you were right to apologize in the first place. It's a loop with no natural exit. Just more evidence, manufactured by the very habit meant to protect you. If it's this exhausting, why not just stop? Because somewhere along the way, sorry stopped being an apology and started being currency. It's what you pay to stay likable, to stay easy, to stay safe from the version of conflict that, once upon a time, actually was dangerous. Stopping doesn't feel like relief. It feels like walking into a room, unarmed. There's a specific fear underneath it. If I stop softening myself, will people still want me around? If I take up space without apologizing for it first, will I finally be too much? The thing I was always trying not to be. Most chronic apologizers have never tested that fear. They've never said the hard thing without a sorry wrapped around it to cushion the landing. So the fear stays exactly as large as it's always been, untouched by any actual evidence. Because the one thing that could shrink it is the one thing they've never let themselves try. The breaking point rarely looks dramatic. Usually it's small enough to be almost funny, if it didn't hurt so much to notice. It's apologizing to a chair after walking into it. It's saying sorry to someone who just stepped on your foot. It's catching yourself mid-sentence, hearing the word sorry leave your mouth for something that was unmistakably not remotely your fault, and feeling something crack open. A flicker of, wait, why did I just say that? That flicker is the first real crack in the reflex. It's not healing yet, but it's the first moment the pattern becomes visible instead of automatic. The first time you catch the machinery instead of just being run by it. And once you've seen it once, you start seeing it everywhere. Every reflexive sorry becomes a question instead of a reaction. What was I actually apologizing for just now? If you recognized yourself in this video, here's what recovery actually looks like. And it's smaller than you'd expect. It's not becoming someone who never apologizes. Real accountability still matters. And a genuine, I'm sorry, when you've actually hurt someone, is still one of the most important things a person can say. Recovery is learning the difference between the apology that repairs something real and the reflex that apologizes for the simple fact of being in the room. It starts with catching one sorry before it leaves your mouth and asking, honestly, what am I apologizing for right now? Sometimes the answer is nothing. Sometimes the honest sentence is just the sentence. No cushion, no preemptive guilt, no softening. You were never a burden that needed a constant apology attached to it. You were just a person who learned, a long time ago, that safety meant staying small. You're allowed to unlearn that. You don't owe the room an apology for being in it. If this hit closer to home than you expected, leave a comment. You'd be surprised how many people are saying sorry for reading this right now.